Hi, everyone. My name is Bev Davis. I'm a children's book author, and I'm here to share my latest book with you. It's a book called Winging It, and it's a Monarch love story. Here's the cover. You're going to love it. First of all, I want to tell you that this book is dedicated to Pat. She's a friend of mine, and she's a dedicated Monarch midwife. And to Eileen and Maya, a grandmother and a granddaughter beyond compare. Now, it's a special dedication to Edna White, gone too soon. Edna is the namesake of Edna's garden in this book. The garden began as a blighted, empty lot in the Beverly Morgan Park community. But when Edna's work and guidance, it became a place of beauty. Unfortunately, her untimely death kept her from basking in the glow of a job well done. We love you and miss you, Edna. I know you're with us in spirit. Now let me tell you the story about Grandma Eileen. Grandma Eileen was about to get a surprise. Her friend Pat had just called and told her to expect something on her doorstep very soon. I wonder what that might be, she said. Pat was such a mother of the earth type, so it was anyone's guess. Really, Grandma Eileen went back to her baking. She loved to bake. And as she thought about all the possibilities that could be coming her way, when suddenly the doorbell rang, Grandma Eileen eagerly ran to the door. Maybe this is the surprise, she said to herself. She swung the door open and looked around. No one was there. Then she looked down. There on the porch was a mason jar with a gingham-covered lid. Here it is. What in the world? What in the world's right? There's the mason jar. Well, what in the world? She picked it up and examined what was inside. A long wooden stick with what looked like a jade-colored jewel attached to it by a fine silk thread. That sounds neat. Taped to the side of the jar were 2 notes. Grandma Eileen just shook her head and said, Pat was always reading up on ways to save the world. Thank you, Pat. Researching about the earth and the animals and such. She loved to share her knowledge about taking care of the world and all the things that are part of it. This was her latest share, apparently. Eileen just shook her head and smiled. Maya, her granddaughter, was going to love this. A butterfly in the making. Grandma Eileen went back inside and carefully placed the jar in the middle of her kitchen table. Boom, right in the middle of her kitchen table, she puts the jar. Let's talk about the kitchen table. Kitchen table is very center in this house. And on the kitchen table is always tea and sugar and little spoons to stir your tea. It's a very special kitchen table. And there it is, the jar, right in the middle of the kitchen table. And there's Maya. So days passed, and the jar remained on the table. Her granddaughter visited several times, always checking the jar, examining the green chrysalis or cocoon, but nothing changed. When's it going to happen, Grandma? Maya asked her repeatedly, and Grandma Eileen always replied, soon, Maya, soon. We will know. Soon. You have to be patient. Day 14 arrives, and Maya came for another visit. Yay! Together they check the jar. Same as always. Maya shrugged. Grandma Eileen smiled. Soon, very soon, she told her granddaughter, let's get these errands over, and then we'll come back for some fresh baked cookies. Eileen makes the best cookies. And there's Maya, a little kerfuffled. There's Maya. When's it gonna happen? Soon, Maya, soon. They hopped into Grandma Eileen's yellow station wagon and headed out. Unfortunately. Why unfortunately? Because day 14 was the day that something changed in the mason jar. While they were doing errands, they missed the transformation. Oh, look at them. They're happily driving around in their car, the station wagon, the little yellow station wagon. Toot, toot. So they're out most of the day, and when they come home, Maya glanced at the jar, and as always, then started to turn away to help her grandma put away the groceries, but she stopped. She turned back. She turned back to the jar and leaned in to get a closer look. Her eyes went wide. Grandma, something finally happened. What could it be? There it is. There's the jar. And something happened. What do you think it was? Let's see. The green chrysalis that had been clinging to the stick now had a clear shell. How about that? Her grandma said with a grin. It looks like an inside-out butterfly, doesn't it? Maya gently lifted the jar and turned it around and around slowly to look at the clear shell from all angles. I wonder what will happen next, she whispered. What do you think is going to happen? Look at that. An inside-out monarch butterfly. Have you ever seen one of those? They're pretty special. I'm going to show you how you can. Well, guess what? It's cookie time. Grandma Eileen said. Maya set the jar back on the table and off they went into the living room to watch some TV together and to enjoy some cookies and milk. Cookies and milk. But I think Eileen probably had her tea. She loved Earl Grey. After that, Maya went to play in the guest room, where her grandma kept lots of books and art supplies and toys just for her granddaughter Maya. While she played, Grandma Eileen put her feet up and read a book. Guess what the book was about? Butterflies. Hours passed. They did not enter the kitchen that whole time. Unfortunately. Why unfortunately? Because within a few hours, a butterfly had emerged from the cocoon. Again, they'd missed the transformation, but it was just as well. Just as well? There's a lot of excitement about this. There they are, watching TV. It's a chicken show. Well, let's see what's happening in the kitchen. The stunning monarch butterfly now rested on the stick, allowing its wings to dry. This was a very important step in the process. If Maya and her grandmother had released it to nature before its wings were ready, it might not have been able to fly well enough to avoid the grasp of predators. It's something to know, huh? So maybe it was not so unfortunate after all. Here she is. That. Sometimes doing it backwards is a little tricky. Thanks for patience. So after a while, Grandma Eileen put down her book and shuffled off to the kitchen with her empty plates and milk and teacups. She passed the jar. She paused. What did I just see? She took a couple of steps back and stopped at the kitchen table, staring at the jar. Maya, come quickly. What do you think Grandma Eileen just saw? Yeah, monarch butterfly. Maya ran to the kitchen to find her grandmother holding the mason jar, a big smile on her face. When Maya saw what was fluttering inside the jar, she clasped her hands together and said, "Oh my, I can't believe such a beautiful butterfly came from that little shell. I want to call him Chester. Okay?" Grandma Eileen lifted Maya's chin so that she could look directly into her eyes. Well, I don't think that name is going to work in this case. Maya frowned. Why not? It's a good name. True it is. But this butterfly is a girl. Maya put a hand over her mouth and she giggled. Oh, well, how about Chesterina then? There you go. I love it. Chesterina is a monarch butterfly, Maya. Isn't nature an amazing thing? In fact, I've been reading up on these butterflies ever since Pat dropped off her surprise. She's been reading up on it. Is there something special you like to read up on? There's Maya clapping her hands. Let's see what's next. Wait a second, Maya said, hands on her hips, sassy. How can you tell if it's a boy or a girl anyway? Good question, right? I'll show you. Grandma Eileen went to get her book about butterflies and then opened the page that explained about male and female monarchs. That's so cool, Maya said. We have to let her go, though, right, Grandma? Very true, Grandma said. We must release her to her natural habitat and wish her well. Off to Edna's Gardens we go. What's that? It's a memorial garden filled with all the things a monarch butterfly would love. Monarch felt a little sad. Maya felt a little sad inside to have to let Chesterina go, but she knew it was the right thing to do. Now, female monarchs have don't have littler veins, but they don't have dots. And male monarchs have thinner veins and a little dot on the bottom of their wing. You want to see? Yeah. I didn't know that until I met Chesterina a long, long time ago. So I have to go in the big yellow station wagon with Chesterina in a jar on the front seat of the car and Maya holding her. When they arrived at Edna's garden, Maya said, "Oh, it's so beautiful here. It's perfect for Chesterina." Eileen says, "I agree." They walked a little ways inside the gardens, and then Grandma Eileen said, "This looks like a good place as any. You do the honors, Maya. Open the jar and let her fly." Maya slowly unscrewed the lid, peeped inside, then lifted her head and waited. Waited. What's going to happen next? Hey! She's flying outside the jar. Pretty cool, huh? It didn't take long for Chesterina to realize a new habitat was just on the other side of the glass. Off she went in her glory. Maya and Grandma Eileen held each other close as they watched Chesterina dance amongst the flowers and the trees. "I'll never forget her," Maya whispered. She was so lucky to have made it to this stage. Many monarchs, don't even get out of their cocoons. Because of dangers in the wild, Maya said. Precisely. But also because of the shortage of their favorite food, milkweed. I think Pat sent us this gift to remind us of how precious nature is. The monarch population is falling, and we should try to do what we can to reverse the pattern. Yeah, there she is. Flying, flying, flying. Up, up, and away. The world would be a sad place without beautiful butterflies like Chesterina, Maya said, as they walked back to the big yellow station wagon. I want to learn more. I want to help the monarchs. So do I, don't you? Grandma Eileen ruffled Maya's hair and said, "Me too. Next time you visit, we'll do some more research and find ways we can help. I'm sure my friend Pat will have lots to share too." Oh yeah, she will. So Maya says to Grandma, "Pinky promise?" Lifting her pinky in the air. They wrapped their pinkies together and they said, "Pinky promise" together. So there they are. There's the butterflies and there's the pinky promise. This book is a love letter to monarch butterflies. These strong but fragile characters continue to bring new life and hope to our world year in and year out. But every year, their habitats change. Where once there were milkweed plants growing along the roads, the railroad tracks, the prairies, open ground, many are being cleared to make way for progress. Pat and Edna showed this author how to encourage life in the wild by giving a little loving kindness. I hope this book will give you the inspiration to take time to give these gentle creatures your support. All it takes is a monarch caterpillar, a canning jar, a cloth lid, a rubber band, and a stick, and a lot of patience. Patience helps. Oh, but let's not forget about the milkweed. You need the milkweed. And that's where you find the caterpillars. And that's where you find the eggs of the monarch butterfly. They're really tiny. Milkweed is a food favorite for monarchs. This wildflower produces pink-colored blooms and has thick leaves, which have a milky substance inside of them. The monarchs lay their tiny, tiny white eggs on the underside of the leaves, and when the eggs hatch, you will see the smallest caterpillar with a huge appetite, really huge. You gotta see that. Now, to keep the caterpillar well fed, you will need to collect and feed them milkweed leaves. As the caterpillar grows, it continues to eat the milkweed voraciously. Oh yeah, that's going to be fun for you to watch. Now, when the caterpillar attains its full size, it will attach itself to the stick. And before you know it, when you have your back turned, most likely, it will turn itself into a beautiful jade-colored chrysalis. This is where patience is the most important. It will take 10 to 14 days for that jade green chrysalis, ringed in gold, to become a beautiful monarch butterfly, a little like this one here. This story is just about one of many, many, many monarch butterflies that Pat, Edna, Eileen, Maya, and myself have raised. But it was the very first one for Eileen and Maya. We are all winging it, right? You can too. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.